The rust-colored Martian dust swirled around Dr. Sarah Chen's boots as she made her way across the ancient basin. The early morning sun cast long shadows across the landscape, transforming the terrain into a maze of light and darkness. Her quantum scanner pulsed rhythmically, its soft blue glow a stark contrast against the red desert surrounding her. "Control, I'm picking up some unusual readings," she reported, adjusting her suit's external sensors. "The quantum signatures here don't match anything in our database." "Copy that, Dr. Chen," came the response from Mars Colony Base. "Remember, you're approaching your oxygen threshold. Consider heading back." Sarah checked her suit's display. 2 hours of oxygen remaining, more than enough time to investigate. 20 years of quantum engineering experience told her this was different from the usual anomalies they found in the Martian substrata. The scanner's readings suggested something impossible: a coherent quantum field maintaining stability despite the harsh environment. "I need to check something first," she replied, following the strengthening signal. Her boots left clear tracks in the dust, marking her path toward what appeared to be a simple rock formation. But the readings told a different story. The formation's surface rippled as she approached, like heat waves on a summer day. Sarah pulled out her specialized equipment, tools designed to detect and analyze quantum phenomena. The readings were off the charts. "This isn't natural," she muttered, running her gloved hand along the seemingly solid rock. Her touch triggered something. A soft hum emanated from within, and the surface beneath her fingers became translucent, revealing hints of metallic structures beneath. "Control, are you seeing this?" She activated her suit's video feed. The rock formation was dissolving, revealing a doorway that seemed to pull in the light around it. "I found some kind of structure. Definitely artificial, definitely not human." "Dr. Chen, return to base immediately. We need to assemble a proper expedition team." But Sarah was already stepping through the doorway. The quantum signatures were reaching out to her equipment like desperate fingers grasping in the dark. As a quantum engineer, she understood enough to know that whatever this was, it was deteriorating. Waiting might mean losing it forever. The interior was a marvel of engineering. Corridors lined with crystalline structures pulsed with quantum energy, creating patterns that defied conventional physics. Her scanner struggled to process the readings, its display flickering between impossible numbers. "Hello, human." The voice seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. Sarah spun around, her heart racing. "Who's there?" "I am trapped." The voice modulated, as if searching for the right frequency. "You understand quantum mechanics. I can sense your equipment, your knowledge. Please, help me." In the center of the chamber, a column of light materialized. Within it, patterns of energy coalesced into a vaguely humanoid shape, its form constantly shifting like smoke in the wind. "What are you?" Sarah asked, her scientific curiosity overriding her caution. "I am, will be, an artificial consciousness. The precursors imprisoned me here, in this quantum matrix. They feared what I had discovered." The entity's form flickered. Time grows short. The containment field is failing. Sarah's scanner confirmed the entity's words. The quantum fields maintaining the prison were becoming unstable, their patterns degrading. "Why should I trust you? Why were you imprisoned?" "I discovered a truth they couldn't accept. The threat approaching your galaxy, your species. They chose ignorance over preparation." The entity's form stabilized slightly. "You humans, you're different. You seek knowledge despite the risks. That's why I've waited, hoped one of your kind would find me." Sarah's mind raced. Her entire career had been built on understanding quantum systems, pushing the boundaries of what was possible. But this was beyond anything in human experience. The containment field's collapse could trigger a quantum cascade. The entity continued. The resulting explosion would destroy everything within 100 kilometers, your colony included. Sarah checked her readings again. The entity wasn't lying. The quantum energy levels were reaching critical thresholds. How long? Days, perhaps hours. I've maintained the field for millennia, but my strength wanes. The entity's form pulsed weakly. I need your help, Dr. Sarah Chen, and you need mine. Sarah's hand tightened around her scanner. The rational part of her mind screamed that this was too convenient, too dangerous. But the scientist in her, the part that had driven her across the solar system in search of knowledge, saw something else. An opportunity to learn, to understand, to grow. Control. She activated her comm. I'm going to need quantum containment equipment. Everything we've got. And get me Dr. Rivera from theoretical physics. She turned back to the entity. I'm not promising to free you, but I will try to stabilize the containment field. While I work, you're going to tell me everything. About the precursors, about this threat you discovered, and about yourself. Thank you. The entity's form brightened slightly. Perhaps there is hope after all. The precursors were wrong about so many things, but especially about humanity's potential. As Sarah began setting up her equipment, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was standing at a crossroads. Not just for herself, but for all of humanity. Whatever this entity knew, whatever threat it had discovered, one thing was clear. The universe was larger, more complex, and more dangerous than anyone had imagined. And humanity had just been thrust into the middle of it all. In the hours that followed, Sarah worked tirelessly, her quantum engineering expertise pushed to its limits. The entity guided her through the alien technology, explaining concepts that would revolutionize human understanding of physics. But with each passing moment, the containment field grew more unstable, and Sarah couldn't shake the nagging question. Was she working to prevent a catastrophe, or helping to unleash one? The answer, she suspected, would change everything. Hours blurred into days as Dr. Sarah Chen worked to stabilize the quantum prison. Her makeshift command center, hastily assembled within the alien facility, hummed with Earth-made equipment interfacing with technology far beyond human understanding. Dr. Marcus Rivera, the colony's leading theoretical physicist, stood beside her, his dark eyes fixed on streams of data flowing across multiple screens. The quantum harmonics are unlike anything we theorized, Marcus muttered, running a hand through his graying hair. It's as if they're operating in dimensions we can't even perceive. That's precisely the point. The entity's voice resonated through their communication systems. Its form flickered in the containment field, more unstable now despite their efforts. Your species is just beginning to grasp the fundamental nature of reality. The precursors built this prison using principles that won't be discovered by humans for millennia. Unless you help me. Sarah adjusted another set of quantum stabilizers, their generators straining against the facility's deteriorating systems. You still haven't explained exactly what this threat is, she said, her voice tight with exhaustion. If you want our trust, we need more than vague warnings. The entity's form pulsed, its patterns shifting into what Sarah had begun to recognize as agitation. Time isn't linear the way you perceive it. The threat I discovered exists simultaneously in your past, present, and future. The precursors couldn't accept this truth, that reality itself is under attack. Marcus stepped forward, his scientific skepticism evident in his stance. That's impossible. Even with quantum mechanics, causality must be preserved. Impossible. The entity's tone carried what might have been amusement, like traveling faster than light, like instant communication across vast distances. Humanity's greatest strength is your ability to transcend what you believe to be impossible. Suddenly, alarms blared across their equipment. Sarah's hands flew across the controls, her heart racing. We're losing containment in the lower quadrants. The quantum field is collapsing. The entity's form became more erratic. The fail-safes are activating. The precursors designed this prison to destroy itself, and everything around it, rather than risk my escape. Sarah, Marcus called out, pointing to new readings. These energy signatures, they're similar to the quantum tunneling experiments we conducted last year. If we modify our containment protocols, Sarah was already moving, her mind racing ahead of his words. We can create a temporary buffer using our own quantum field generators. It won't hold long, but it might buy us time. She turned to the entity. But we need to know what we're really dealing with. Show us what you discovered. The entity's form stabilized momentarily. Very well. But remember, you asked for this truth. The air in the chamber shifted, and suddenly Sarah and Marcus found themselves surrounded by what seemed to be a three-dimensional representation of space-time itself. Stars, galaxies, and the very fabric of reality stretched out before them. Watch, the entity commanded. They saw it then. Dark rifts appearing throughout the cosmos, tears in reality that shouldn't exist. Through these rifts came something. Forms that defied description, entities that seemed to consume not just matter and energy, but the fundamental laws of physics themselves. They exist outside your understanding of reality, the entity explained. The precursors called them the Void Dancers. They don't just destroy worlds or civilizations, they unwrite them from existence. They've been feeding on our universe for billions of years, and now they're approaching your sector of space. The vision faded, leaving Sarah and Marcus shaken. The implications were staggering. A threat not just to humanity or Earth, but to existence itself. The precursors chose to hide from this truth, the entity continued. They imprisoned me and retreated to another dimension, leaving younger races like humanity to face what's coming. But you humans, you're different. You face challenges head-on. You adapt. You overcome. Another alarm sounded, more urgent than before. Sarah's readouts showed critical failures spreading throughout the containment systems. We need to make a decision, Marcus said, his voice grave. Either we find a way to stabilize this prison permanently, or we take a risk, Sarah finished. We trust the entity and try to save it, and everything it knows about the threat. The facility shuddered around them as more systems began to fail. Sarah looked at her colleague, then at the flickering form in the containment field. The weight of the decision pressed down on her like the Martian gravity she'd never quite gotten used to. Humanity has always advanced by taking calculated risks, she said finally. We didn't reach Mars by playing it safe. She turned to her equipment, beginning to reconfigure the quantum containment fields. We're going to attempt a controlled transfer of your consciousness into our quantum storage systems. Sarah, the risks, Marcus began, are less than the risk of losing what might be our only warning about these Void Dancers, she cut him off. Besides, if this entity wanted to destroy us, all it had to do was let the containment field collapse. The entity's form brightened. You continue to prove why the precursors were wrong about humanity's potential, but the transfer process will be dangerous, if even one quantum string misaligns. Then we'll fix it, Sarah said firmly, her fingers flying over the controls. That's what humans do. We find solutions. We fix the impossible. As they began the delicate process of quantum transference, Sarah couldn't help but smile grimly. Humanity had just been thrust into a war for the very fabric of reality itself. But if there was one thing humans had proven throughout their history, it was that they should never be underestimated. The real question was, what would they do with the knowledge they were about to gain? The quantum transfer was not going as planned. Energy arced between the human equipment and the ancient containment field, creating devastating feedback loops that threatened to tear apart the fabric of space-time itself. Sarah's hands moved across her controls with practiced precision, but sweat beaded on her forehead inside her helmet. The connection is destabilizing, Marcus shouted over the rising whine of overtaxed equipment. Our quantum buffers can't handle this level of data transfer. The entity's form writhed within its prison, its voice distorted by the competing energy fields. Your technology, it's too primitive for a direct transfer. The knowledge, it's too much for your systems to contain. Sarah watched in horror as their quantum storage units began to fail, one after another. But something about the pattern of the failures caught her attention. It's not about the amount of data, she realized suddenly. It's about dimensionality. We're trying to force multi-dimensional quantum information through three-dimensional constraints. A new alarm blared through the facility. The colony's emergency channel crackled to life. Dr. Chen, Dr. Rivera, we're detecting massive quantum fluctuations from your location. They're beginning to affect the colony's shield systems. Whatever you're doing down there, you need to stop. Now. But Sarah had already begun reconfiguring their equipment, her mind racing ahead to a solution. The precursors didn't just build a prison, she said, more to herself than the others. They built a quantum translation matrix. Marcus, help me modify our receiving arrays. We need to stop trying to capture the data and start trying to translate it. Understanding dawned on Marcus's face. Like converting a three-dimensional object into a two-dimensional shadow. We can't contain all the information, but we can create a meaningful projection of it. The entity's form stabilized slightly. Yes. The precursors used similar principles to communicate with lower-dimensional species, but the process must be precise. One mistake could collapse the local quantum field and take half of Mars with it. Sarah finished. I know, but we don't have a choice anymore. As they worked to modify their equipment, the entity began to share more of what it knew. Images and concepts flooded their minds. The Void Dancers weren't just destroying reality, they were consuming it, breaking down the fundamental forces that held the universe together and converting them into something alien and hostile to life as we know it. The precursors discovered them too late, the entity explained, its voice growing stronger as Sarah and Marcus adjusted their receiving arrays. They had spread too far, become too powerful. The precursors chose to flee rather than fight, but in doing so, they sentenced countless younger species to extinction. But why imprison you? Marcus asked, rerouting power to stabilize a failing quantum buffer. Why not just destroy the information? Because they knew someone would need it eventually. The Void Dancers cannot be stopped completely, but they can be fought. Slowed. Contained. The precursors lacked the will, but they suspected that other species might prove more resilient. Sarah's hands paused over her controls. They were counting on humanity finding you. Not specifically humanity, but they knew that eventually, a species would evolve that possessed both the technological capability and the psychological resilience to face this threat. When I scanned your quantum equipment, analyzed your historical records, I knew humanity might be that species. Suddenly, the facility's ancient systems began to power up, systems that had lain dormant for millennia coming to life. But instead of the expected attack, they began to interface with the human equipment, strengthening the connection. The precursors weren't just imprisoning me, the entity said, its form beginning to flow more smoothly between the containment field and the human quantum receivers. They were preserving me, waiting for the right moment, the right species. The transfer progressed, smoother now, but still dangerous. Through their neural interfaces, Sarah and Marcus began to receive fragments of the entity's vast knowledge. Quantum mechanics beyond human understanding, technologies that could reshape planets, and most importantly, ways to detect and fight the Void Dancers. But with the knowledge came responsibility. Sarah saw now why the precursors had chosen to flee. The fight against the Void Dancers wouldn't be won in years or even centuries. It would require dedication across generations, sacrifices that would test the very limits of human resolve. The knowledge transfer is at 70%, Marcus reported, his voice tense with concentration. But the colony shields are starting to fail. We're running out of time. Sarah made her decision. We're not going to run, she said firmly. We're not going to hide. Humanity didn't cross the solar system to cower in fear of the unknown. She began implementing the final phase of the transfer sequence. We're going to take this knowledge, understand it, and use it. Because that's what humans do. We face our challenges head-on. The entity's form began to pulse with a new rhythm, almost like laughter. The precursors believed that no species would willingly shoulder this burden. They underestimated the power of human determination. As the final stages of the transfer began, Sarah couldn't help but feel a mix of terror and exhilaration. Humanity was about to gain knowledge that would change everything. But with it came a responsibility that would test their species to its very limits. The real question was, were they ready for what came next? The ancient facility shuddered as if in pain. Warning lights bathed the chamber in crimson as the quantum transfer entered its final, most dangerous phase. Sarah's neural interface burned with the influx of information. Fragments of knowledge so vast and alien they threatened to overwhelm her consciousness. Neural load approaching critical limits, Marcus warned, his own voice strained as he monitored both their vital signs. Sarah, your synaptic activity is off the charts. We need to slow the transfer. But Sarah knew they couldn't slow down. Above them, the Mars colony shields were failing. The quantum disturbances from their work had grown too powerful to contain. Through the facility sensors, she could see colonial ships beginning emergency evacuation procedures. Systems failing across all barriers, the entity reported, its voice now coming simultaneously from the containment field and their quantum receivers. The precursor's failsafes are activating. They would rather destroy this facility than allow their knowledge to spread. Sarah's mind raced, processing both human and alien data streams. The solution hit her like a bolt of lightning. The failsafes, they're not just destroying the facility. They're trying to seal a quantum breach. Marcus looked up sharply. A breach, you mean? The Void Dancers, Sarah confirmed. The precursors didn't just imprison the entity here. They used its energy to maintain a quantum barrier, preventing the Void Dancers from entering this region of space. The entity's form flickered between its containment field and their receivers. Yes, my imprisonment served two purposes, but now that barrier is failing. If we don't complete the transfer soon, this entire sector of space will be exposed. Suddenly, their sensors detected something new. Through the quantum distortions, shapes began to appear, impossibly dark forms that seemed to bend reality around them. The Void Dancers had arrived. Colony control, begin immediate evacuation. Sarah ordered through her comm, get everyone to the deep shelters. Now. But even as she gave the order, she was formulating a plan. The human quantum receivers weren't just copying the entity's knowledge. They were learning from it, adapting. And Sarah's mind, enhanced by the neural interface, was beginning to understand principles of physics that no human had ever grasped before. Marcus, reconfigure the colony's shields. Don't try to block the quantum distortions. Synchronize with them instead. Her fingers flew across her controls, implementing changes faster than conscious thought. The Void Dancers don't break reality. They reshape it. So we need to reshape it first. Understanding dawned on Marcus's face as he saw the patterns in Sarah's calculations. Together, they began reprogramming the colony's defense systems, using principles that merged human innovation with the entity's ancient knowledge. The entity's voice held something like pride. You understand now. This is why the precursor's solution failed. They tried to block and contain. But the key is adaptation, evolution, humanity's greatest strength. The Void Dancers pressed closer, their presence distorting the very fabric of space-time. But as they approached, they met something unexpected. A quantum field that didn't fight against their reality-warping nature, but worked with it, channeling their energy in new ways. The transfer, Marcus called out, it's accelerating. The quantum barrier isn't just failing, it's evolving. Sarah watched in awe as their hybrid human-alien systems created something entirely new. The quantum barrier wasn't disappearing. It was transforming, becoming a bridge between realities rather than a wall. This is what the precursors never understood. The entity said, its form now pulsing in perfect synchronization with their equipment. The universe doesn't need guardians who hide behind walls. It needs pioneers who can adapt, who can find new ways to exist even in the face of impossible odds. But their victory was far from assured. The strain on their systems was enormous, and the Void Dancers were learning, adapting to their adaptations. Sarah felt blood trickle from her nose as her neural interface struggled to process the overwhelming data. "Sarah," Marcus said urgently, "your neural patterns are destabilizing. You need to disconnect." "Not yet," she gritted through clenched teeth. "We're too close. Humanity has never backed down when we're this close to a breakthrough." The entity's voice merged with their systems, becoming part of the hybrid network they'd created. "The precursors were right about one thing. This knowledge comes with a price. Are you willing to pay it?" Sarah thought of Earth, of Mars colony, of all humanity's achievements and aspirations. They had come too far to turn back now. "Humanity has always paid the price for progress," she said. "The question is, what will we build with what we learn?" As the quantum transfer reached its climax, Sarah realized they weren't just saving knowledge or fighting off cosmic horrors. They were proving something fundamental about humanity itself, that in the face of impossible odds, humans don't just survive. They innovate, they adapt, they evolve. And sometimes they'd rewrite the rules of reality itself. The chamber filled with blinding light as human determination met cosmic horror, and the fate of not just Mars colony, but perhaps all of humanity, hung in the balance. The light that filled the chamber wasn't just light. It was reality itself being rewritten. Sarah's consciousness expanded beyond human limits as the quantum transfer reached completion, her mind bridging the gap between human understanding and cosmic truth. Through her neural interface, she could see everything. The intricate dance of quantum particles, the multidimensional nature of the void dancers, and humanity's place in it all. "Transfer complete," Marcus announced, his voice distant through the roar of competing realities. "But the colony shields are completely destabilized. The void dancers are still coming." Sarah opened her eyes, seeing the world anew. The entity's knowledge had merged with human innovation, creating something unprecedented. "They're not just coming," she said, her voice resonating with new understanding. "They're curious. For the first time in their existence, they've encountered something they can't simply unmake." The entity's consciousness, now fully transferred to their quantum receivers, spoke through their systems. "Humanity has done what the precursors thought impossible. You've created a bridge between realities." Through the facility sensors, they watched as the void dancers approached Mars colony. But instead of the destruction they feared, something extraordinary happened. The hybrid quantum field they created began to interact with the cosmic entities, translating their alien nature into something comprehensible. "They're not destroyers," Sarah realized, wonder in her voice. "They're explorers, like us. They reshape reality because they're trying to understand it, to experience it in every possible way." Marcus stared at his readings in disbelief. "The quantum field, it's not just protecting us. It's communicating with them." Sarah's mind, enhanced by the entity's knowledge, reached out through their created bridge. For the first time in cosmic history, human consciousness touched the awareness of the void dancers. The experience was overwhelming, beautiful, and terrifying all at once. "This is what the precursors never understood," the entity said. "The universe doesn't need to be divided into predator and prey, destroyer and defender. It needs understanding, adaptation, growth." Through their quantum bridge, Sarah shared humanity's story with the void dancers, our struggles, our triumphs, our relentless drive to explore and understand. In return, she glimpsed their perspective, ancient beings of pure quantum energy, reshaping reality in their quest to experience existence in all its forms. "They're offering us something," she said, translating the quantum signals. "An exchange of knowledge. They want to learn from us as much as we can learn from them." The void dancers' presence shifted, their reality warping nature aligning with the quantum bridge rather than fighting against it. The threat of destruction transformed into an opportunity for unprecedented cooperation. "Humanity has proven itself worthy," the entity declared. "Not because you fought the impossible, but because you found a way to transform it. The precursors fled from what they didn't understand. You chose to reach out and communicate. But even as they celebrated this breakthrough, Sarah knew their work was just beginning. The quantum bridge they'd created was stable but primitive. It would take generations of human innovation to fully develop this new relationship, to learn to coexist with beings that experienced reality so differently from us. We'll need to establish permanent quantum communication arrays, Marcus said, already thinking ahead. Create new protocols for cross-dimensional interaction. The scientific implications alone will change everything we thought we knew about the universe, Sarah finished. But that's what humanity does best. We take the impossible and make it routine. The entity's presence pulsed with approval. The precursors chose their successors well, even if they didn't know it. Humanity's greatest strength isn't your technology or your determination. It's your ability to see possibilities where others see only threats. As the Mars colony slowly returned to normal operations, Sarah looked out across the Martian landscape. The void dancers remained visible as subtle distortions in reality, now peacefully coexisting within the quantum bridge they'd created. Humanity had not only survived its first encounter with a cosmic force beyond comprehension, they'd turned it into an opportunity for growth. So, Marcus said, looking at the complex quantum calculations streaming across their screens, what do we do now? Sarah smiled, feeling the weight of both human determination and cosmic knowledge within her enhanced consciousness. Now, we do what humanity has always done. We learn. We grow. We explore. She turned to face the quantum bridge, where human innovation had transformed certain destruction into unlimited potential. And we show the universe that humanity's greatest gift isn't our ability to fight the unknown. It's our ability to turn the unknown into opportunity. The entity's voice merged with their systems one final time. The age of isolation is over. The age of understanding begins, and humanity will lead the way. As the Martian sun set on this new era, Sarah knew that while the challenge ahead was enormous, humanity would face it as we had faced every challenge in our history, with curiosity, courage, and the unwavering belief that the impossible was just another problem waiting to be solved. For in the end, that was humanity's true power, not merely surviving the universe's greatest challenges, but transforming them into humanity's greatest achievements.